It's juice bag.
Maybe I'll go higher on this one.
It's juice bag.
So it's juice. Let's just do a few like juice bags.
Juice bag.
I think we should do hip hop hype beast.
Okay.
Juice bag.
Noise.
Okay.
Hello. And happy August 22nd to us today, the day we are recording this episode
Of Juice Bag Podcast. Welcome to the show, everybody.
Episode
I'm
2.
your co-host, Mucus Jones.
Ew. Ew.
And who are you this week?
I'm Healthy Queen Jones.
Why are you Healthy Queen Jones?
Well, I've actually been sleeping better, turns out, because you've left the room.
Yeah. I've been sleeping on the couch like all week, and that's not because we're fighting or anything. It's just because I am coughing all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Spewing
It's one of those
mucus.
like dry coughs that and now he's being reminded. So
I know. Every time I think about it, I have to cough.
even I get it a little bit. It's like when your lungs are sensitive and you breathe in deep and you got to clear your throat and cough everything out. But you'll be better fine.
No, I know. I've just been a little low E. That's all. Just,
Yeah.
I haven't been sleeping well, but honestly, today's been great because the weather's nice. It's the 22nd of August, which means August is almost done.
I know.
Which is great. We're going to Boise next week. I have a lot to be happy about. I sure wish I was sleeping better, but honestly, I'm doing fine. I mean, the cough is annoying, but I do feel okay.
Right. Yeah.
I'm getting more energy. I took a nap in the car before we started this. So I'm feeling
Well, I
pretty
kind
good.
of forced that nap upon you because I was shopping quite a bit.
Yeah.
Shopping till I dropped.
What were you shopping for? Do you have any news to share with the folks?
Oh boy. That could be a whole podcast episode in itself.
Are you capable of giving the shorthand
I don't
version?
know.
You don't know?
I don't know if I'm ready.
Jett has hit some pretty major health milestone goals. She's hit a lot of goals this month, and she is feeling fine, fierce, healthy, and wealthy.
Healthy queen.
And she is doing so stinking good. We went to Kohl's to celebrate today to spend a little bit of her pre-birthday money.
Virgos. Shout out Virgos. My birthday's on September 8th. If you want to send me any gift cards. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, we're going to do that whole birthday month thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Birthday
all of
month.
September, just send her stuff.
Yeah, I'm going to have a GoFundMe.
Ooh.
Just kidding.
I'm into that.
I'm not a birthday month or a birthday week girl. I am a birthday day girl. In all seriousness, I think that's whack when people do that.
Yeah, no, I do too.
But I did want to start it out because we said we were going to do this.
Yeah.
Rate our moods 1 out of 10.
Oh, go ahead. I think, what was our mood last week? I think I was at like a 6.
I think I was
6.5.
I think I was a 7.5 and you were a 7, or I don't know.
I don't
Whatever.
remember.
What are you today?
You go first. I have to think.
I would rate myself an 8.5.
Really?
Yeah.
That's surprising. I would have thought it would have been higher, honestly.
Really?
Yeah. Where's
Oh.
the minus points coming from?
Well, it's still a little humid and hot.
Yeah,
You know, we can get into a little bit more. I'm sure it will turn into it will be the episode if I bring up what my milestones are. So we're bearing the lead. Anyway, you go right on ahead with your rating.
I think I am at a 7.5.
Okay.
Always got to be a little bit worse than you. No, I don't have anything nearly as exciting going
Right.
on. I did have ice cream before we started this. That was delicious.
I bought you a little mini Haagen-Dazs to have on backup.
We also had this old leftover stuff because we made Samoa cookies.
No, they're 7-layer bars. They're my
That's what
mom's
it was.
famous
Oh my
7-layer
God, yeah.
bars. Yeah.
And so I sprinkled that. It was like frozen. So I sprinkled that on top of my ice cream. It was litty as shitty.
Was it as good as we thought it would be?
It was so good.
Really?
Dude. Yeah.
It was frozen for like 8 months.
Well, especially because I've been like eating clean like all week.
Yeah.
Except I did have cookies today.
Today was a bingey day for you, but that's okay.
It was a bit. I slept horribly last night, and I was sleeping on the couch. And every time Gordy, one of our cats, wanted to like talk to me or reach me, he didn't just like sit on me like he normally does. He just decided to poke me in the eye with his frickin' claw,
Scratch.
because I always sleep with a pillow over my head. And he didn't think he could reach me, and he thought I was dead, so he was just going spelunking by
Mr. Needlehands.
Mr. Needlehands.
Gotta love him.
No, it was just so annoying.
On episode 1, we didn't talk about... We should do a pet tour. We should talk about, briefly, how many pets we have, what their names are, and what they look like.
I don't know if we should, but we will.
We will.
I love talking about
Well, because
our
we
pets.
reference them all the time.
No, I know.
And they're,
sitting
part
right
of the
next
family.
to us. They're
Yeah.
all three not all of them. One of them is in his room. But our 3 kitties are sitting in the window right next to us,
Yeah.
listening to the Acadias. Is it Acadia?
Cicadia?
Cicadia?
Acadia?
The little
Squadia? Yeah, the
bugger
squeaky, really
outside.
loud, giant bug things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are the names and species and favorite colors of our animals?
So, Gordy, we like to call our firstborn. We got him when he was only like 3 months old, back in like 20, gosh darn, like 8, oh God, earlier than that.
He's like 5, 6.
we got him in like 2016.
Did we get him at the beginning of college?
Yeah, our sophomore
Went to
year.
college for like 7
So,
years. I don't know what that math is.
2016.
Wow.
I don't know. And then, so how old would he be? 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 23. Gordy's 7.
Bro. That explains so much.
Wow, he'd be like, what, in 2nd grade or something, 1st grade? And then we have Daphne and Niles, who are
Siblings.
our siblings. We had a senior cat that we were basically the retirement home for, and she passed away, and that was Gordy's buddy. So we thought he needed a buddy. So we went to the shelter, and of course there was a beautiful bonded pair of cats.
Yeah.
So we went in wanting 1 cat and left with 2, therefore making us cat owners of 3.
Yep.
Which I don't know why we did that, but
Because they're so cute.
They are
It's
so
so
cute.
funny because
No
we went to the
regrets.
shelter hoping for a calico. We knew we were going to get a cat, hoping
Yeah.
for a calico. The only calico there was Daphne, who was the only girl in our family, aside from you.
yeah.
And she was bonded with her brother Niles, and Niles was being so sweet
was
at the shelter.
so
he was
sweet.
like rubbing up on you. Daphne was being so timid, blah blah blah, which ended up being their personalities. Niles is like the alpha male of the little pride. Is that what you call lions?
Yeah. We have a little pride of
We
cats.
do have a little pride.
We totally
Gordy's
do.
the little
and
sub.
I didn't mention Gordy is like a chubby orange tabby.
Oh, he's such orange cat energy.
Yeah.
He's my bonded pair.
Yeah.
We just like breathe each other's air all day
Yeah.
because he just sits on my chest and
They're always found cuddling.
yeah, he's so sweet.
He's a good boy.
Yeah.
You guys are bonded. Yeah.
But anyway, Daphne's really sweet. She's
Yeah.
our little calico.
She's
Niles
a torty
is like,
calico long hair, and then Niles is like, I like to call him like a creamsicle. He's
Yeah.
like the lightest orangey white you could possibly be, like
Yeah.
almost like a tan color. He's so cute.
and they're Turkish Angoras.
That's my guess. I mean,
Yeah.
Niles looks like a Turkish Angora. I don't know. I think that might just be like the lucky color that they are. But
long haired, very pretty. I like.
yeah,
both of
they're
them.
beautiful cats.
They shed like nobody's business.
yeah,
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then, are we forgetting one?
No.
There's like we have like some bugs in the house that the cats like to play with.
A buggy grubby.
Yeah. It's either a cricket that they have all found to beat up and torture to death, or there's this like bigger one that just likes to lick their buttholes until
Oh, God.
they absolutely bitch slap it, and that one's named Vito,
Yep.
who's our bug.
Yeah. We have our pride and joy little Vito.
Yeah. What named after?
Danny
Danny.
DeVito.
Named after Danny.
Which is hilarious because I don't know if we had chosen that we were moving to Philly when we named him Danny DeVito. And Danny DeVito is like a notorious New Jersey character.
Yeah.
Like he's
Jersey
on
Mike's.
billboards over here. And of course, he's in Always Sunny in Philadelphia. So
Yeah.
it's kind of hilarious that we have a dog named Vito based on Danny DeVito. And then we moved out here later on. So I just thought that was funny.
The only reason we picked the name is because they have like the same energy. Like Vito's running around being like, I'm a garbage man. And just like chasing people and throwing trash at stuff. And if he had pants, I'm sure he'd have the weirdest shit in his pockets. He's just a weird dude, but he's so
Yeah.
cute and so funny.
Yeah.
And so full of love. He
Yeah.
has never had a bad day in his life.
Yeah.
He's such a sweet little boy. And
Yeah.
he's got his own room. He's chilling right now.
Right. Yeah. He's put away because he would be loud and chewing on the mics and all those things.
Yeah.
But
They all seem to get along, but Vito is just like the same size as the cats, and the cats one of them absolutely hates Vito, and he just beats the shit out of him every option he can.
I don't know. I feel
Vito
like
has his own room for now.
He's kind of coy about it. We're talking about Niles. He's kind of the head of the pride.
Alpha of the pride.
And he likes to throw some hands once in a while with Vito. But honestly, I feel like he likes the attention from Vito too. All the cats do. So I think they tolerate him like a little brother with too much energy. But I'm sure once they all are like 5 years older and, you know, an extra pound or two around the waist, they'll all be much more tolerable of each other's energy, and Vito will chill out a little bit.
I hope so. Vito's so playful and so funny, but he's also like a dumb, strong guy because he's just like, he's what, like 20 pounds maybe of just pure
like 18
muscle.
to 20, yeah.
He's not fat at all.
Yeah, we have like the only athletic built pug ever.
Yeah, this guy's jacked. You can like see his muscles through his skin, and he'll like entice the cats, and they'll like fight him or whatever, and then he just like walks away and goes eats a bone. Like I just find like claws in his head all the time.
Yeah.
I'm just past fights.
Yeah,
and he's just like, "What's up, Dad? Like, give me a piece of watermelon." It's
he's
so
a
funny.
lover.
Yeah, he's
our
a
little
good
gooball.
boy.
So that's the pets. We have 4 pets. We've learned that the internet says plants are the new pets and pets are the new kids.
Yeah.
So we have a family of 4 children, 2 adults. And for now, we love it that way.
Yeah. And I think you don't have a legal limit on kids that I'm aware of. I do think you have a legal limit on pets, and I think we're almost at it.
I haven't looked it up, but I wouldn't be surprised if that we have too many cats for our burrow, but I think we're good enough pet owners that no one cares. I mean, they're all inside pets.
They're all inside cats.
So, anyway, thanks for listening to our pet tour.
Yeah.
That's the end of the episode. Bye.
See you next week. Bye. No, just kidding.
Okay. I think since we talked about it enough at the beginning, I will...
You want to make it the Jett special episode?
I guess so. I mean, it's been such a big piece of my life in 2023 that it would be, I suppose, worth talking about. And I knew at some point I would, maybe not episode 2, but I've hit
it's
some
what
milestones.
we've been talking about basically all this week.
Yeah.
So, and you're wearing a dress that I don't think you've worn since high school.
Yeah.
The type of dress, not the exact dress, but go ahead.
Well, I'm going to start from the very beginning.
Oh my goodness.
But I guess I'll do my big reveal at the beginning. So I have officially, as of today, lost 45 pounds.
Which is insane
pounds.
to think.
Yes. It's weird, and I'm going to talk about all my feelings as we go along, so hopefully people can relate. It's equivalently exciting yet shameful for me to say that number out loud, because I am so bummed I let it get that far as like losing control of my body and my health, I guess, for so long.
Yeah.
And so I feel, a little bit shy bringing it up, because that means I once was 45 pounds heavier than I am now.
Yeah.
And I find that so unbelievable. And, kind of, I don't know, just gives me a little bit of saddy feelings little bit.
It's a vulnerable thing, but also I think a lot of people are experiencing this now too. It was mostly pandemic weight. I mean, we all went up.
I would call it a steady climb since, high school, I guess. So, long story short, I had, in the beginning of 2022, when trying to get my mind right to, I was curious. I was cross-country move curious at that point.
Yeah.
And you and I started seriously talking about moving and like lifestyle changes and things. And it so happened to be a time where we were just like in a lot of thought, that I was traveling a bunch for work and for pleasure, where I was basically on and off sick for 2 months straight. That was kind of my last straw when it came to health, thinking like, wow, my immune system is in the trash can.
You were sick all the time.
Like I could not, which is so funny because we have a cough right now.
Yeah.
But this cold that we have right now, I bet would have made me bedridden a year ago. You know what
true.
I mean?
Yeah.
Like I haven't had a down and out cold in this calendar year, which typically, notoriously throughout my life, especially in more recent years, I've had colds that have put me like in a fever in bed for at least like 4 days consecutively, and then like being sick for 2 weeks. Like pretty bad, which was hard because I had a very demanding job at the time. So that was kind of my like, whoa, girl, you're not doing so hot. And that obviously is a combination of so many lifestyle factors that led me to, you know, have a lot of anxiety. And I think now looking back, I had some like unresolved or like like, I don't know what to call it, but like low level depression, like nothing too serious, but enough to like hold me back. If that
I mean,
makes
there were
sense.
times where it was a little bit more than low level depression. I think both of us experienced that.
Well, I would say anxiety was way worse than I was. It was like if there's downers and uppers when it came like to emotions, I was like an upper like panic attack type person more than I was a cry myself to sleep type person. So anyway, that's kind of the phase I was in mentally. And then fast forward like 3 months or something. Dakota and I had decided we are moving across the country. We are going to pack up that U-Haul and we are leaving. Everything is booked. The house is sold. We are ready to start our new lives. And we decide to go on one final joyride on our electric scooters, you know, like the Lime scooters. We own a pair. We call them our steeds or our hogs.
Yeah.
And we decided to go for one final joyride in the small town we were living in. And I hit a pothole. And
it was pitch black outside.
it was so
We don't know why we were going that fast.
It would have been fine. We weren't going that fast.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like I literally didn't even fall off my scooter. As you can tell, guys, I'm upset about this. So long story short, with the scooters, they have a headlight on them, which is why we felt safe like driving around at night in the small town we were in. We could literally be in the middle of the road and there's no cars because it's such a small town. But we were on the sidewalk, and anyway, there was like a pipe hole.
We were going over a bridge, and there was like a drain hole that was like kind of decrepit and deeper than it should have been and wider than it should have been. Perfect
Well, I don't
size
think
of a
it had a
wheel.
lid on. It didn't have like a
It
cover.
didn't have a lid on it, yeah.
And so
I saw it and dodged it, but you were too close behind me to where I couldn't even warn you.
Right, it was just too fast.
And then you went straight in with locked legs, and then your knee just went the
trigger warning,
opposite
trigger
way.
warning, trigger warning.
Yeah.
It's making me cringe. I've notoriously had knee problems, and so
This was your fourth?
This is my third time tearing my ACL.
Tearing that ACL.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I haven't had an MRI yet. If you know, you know. But since I've torn my ACL twice before, I know what it feels like to tear your ACL. So unfortunately, I tore my ACL.
Yeah.
So and we had to pack our U-Haul to move across the country the next day. So I was like, the feeling I would describe it as is dizzy with shock and despair. Like I was so scared about the move already. Like moving from small town to like densely populated East Coast was already like a huge deal.
Yeah.
Not to mention I had quit my job before I'd even found another one. So I was jobless for the first time since college. And so basically I had this like, you know, awakening moment where I realized like my body, like physically my immune system was crap. I had IBS.
Yeah.
So I was always like, you know, struggling with anxiety, being out in public and worrying if I was going to have a bathroom emergency because I was, you know, eating what I wanted, drinking what I wanted in copious amounts, and therefore it needed to exit somehow. My body was telling me such.
Yeah.
Mixed with, you know, the immune system issues of just like getting every cold and every food poisoning you can imagine that I was ever exposed to, some worse than others. And then this crescendo of a freaking snapped, what would you call it, tendon in my knee.
Yeah.
That basically, that was all I needed, which that's a lot. Like, that's a lot to be going on with your health.
It's kind of not a physical rock bottom, but you were feeling pretty
that's
low.
the best way to put it. It was a physical rock bottom for me. And I you know, with all, okay, I guess I should talk a little bit about my history a little bit further than that regarding weight and health. And it's kind of a
let's keep it on the weight. What caused the weight, and then what caused you to lose the weight?
So what caused me to get to that point weight wise, health wise, was I had a really bad relationship with movement and food. So I was basically born and bred to be a collegiate soccer player. That was almost like my family's religion when we were, you know, all together and things were good as a kid. My college goals and dreams were to be a collegiate level soccer player. Even my sister impressively got to, you know, get some of her tuition paid to play soccer. Yeah. So that was always my goal up until I had torn my ACL twice in college and then also my meniscus. I had literally 3 knee surgeries, like once a year, freshman, sophomore, and junior year of high school, which basically led me to have a lot of bitterness towards the sport and everything I had invested my whole life because, you know, there was a lot of shame in my household, #daddy issues.
Yeah.
Where I literally got shamed for quitting soccer after 3 knee surgeries, which is like outrageous.
Yeah.
Like I was a quitter after, I don't know, 11 years of soccer playing when I was like, listen guys, my knees clearly can't do this. Like it's not possible. I didn't want to stick it out anymore. So I think that was my first stage in like being jaded towards movement. Cause I thought, well, being a quote unquote athlete and being healthy and athletic led me to having some major surgeries. Like those were horrifically painful and they had a long recovery time. And then on top of that, I had to get my cardiovascular and like everything else fitness up to try out for soccer the next year. It was just outrageous. So once I decided my senior year to quit the sport, I really got into art and just like refocused onto other opportunities. And that led me to a lot of healing and a lot of like individual growth that led me to where I was, which at the time made me who I am. So I'm very grateful that what happened. But that being said, I was like, I ain't running. Like I never thought running was fun. And the reason I was running was because I wanted to play soccer. So, you know, being athletic just dropped off from that point out. And then the food stuff just came in tow. I think I always was an emotional eater or like a binge eater in some capacity, maybe not as severe as maybe I've seen online or whatever, but definitely I'm at least an emotional eater.
Yeah.
Girls got to cope. So I think in college when I was given full reign with my decision making when it came to food, you know, I always complained growing up that my mom was kind of like an almond mom where like she wouldn't buy us Pop-Tarts or like too many processed things or whatever. So when I went to college, I think when the athletic side of me I was jaded towards and that I felt like I had to make up for lost time with my food freedom, I just kind of allowed myself to have whatever I wanted. Plus, we were in a committed relationship and you love pizza and fried things and I have a sweet tooth. And so
like 3 times a day.
Right. So then you would want your like savory fried things and I'd be like, sure, since it's here, I'd love to have some of that. And then I'd be like, well, I have a sweet tooth and then I'd have something sweet too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think it was just like a combination of that over the years of like.
So it was learned bad habits. It was a not great relationship with like movement and stuff. And so you became less active as you were growing up. You had bad habits surrounding food. And then that came to a head kind of during the pandemic when you lost kind of the will to really care about either.
Well, yeah. Yeah. And I think my knowledge of nutrition and stuff has definitely evolved. I'm in a like perfectly healthy place and I'm thankful that I've never had like an eating disorder. So I sympathize. Like I feel nervous talking about this because there are people with way worse like turmoil, struggle and feelings about this, but
well, it's okay. Just share your part.
Yeah.
So do you want to share how high you got up, or no, not really?
I can. So of course, I'll get there. So one of the things that kind of held me off, I think, from seeking healthier habits and, considering what I was eating, was, for me, I think I allowed the body positive movement to be a get out of jail free card to ignore the signs for myself.
A little bit of a crutch. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I began, which I also feel like I should mention. So the health issues also included skin problems. So I had the works, the weight, the acne, the digestive problems, so many, medical things that were coming to light. But long story short, before the pandemic, I lost 20 pounds, and that was the first time I had ever tried losing weight. Again, I still feel cringy talking about it because I wish I didn't have the weight to lose. Yeah. But, that was just the situation I was in. I was actually, for the first time since school, was healing my relationship with movement, which was actually the time I fell in love with Harry Styles. I don't know if you know this, but the Fine Line album came out around that time. I was going to the gym, and it was the only me time I gave myself, which was going to the gym 3 or 4 times a week, which also by association, I was attempting to eat healthier at the time, or just less, reduce portions. And I lost 20 pounds right before the pandemic, and then the pandemic hit. And then what previously was my highest weight pre-weight loss, if that makes sense. So I was at 206, and then I got down to 280 something, like 286. So I had lost about 20 pounds.
You mean 186, not 286.
Yes. Bad at math. 186. Which I'm 5'6" and a half ish. Just for reference. And the pandemic hit, and I was like, oh man, that sucks. What are we going to do to have fun and to entertain ourselves? And we were in a small town, and everything was isolated. And basically, yet again, I found excuses for myself to be eating as my only form of entertainment. And I would say alcohol kind of crept into the picture quite a bit more. We had some personal stuff going on with friendships, and my job really picked up responsibility in those years. And so Friday and Saturday nights, we would get drunk. Once a week, we'd get pretty, have a handful of drinks to get down through the pandemic. And
whenever you're drinking, it's always food too.
Right. Yeah.
To try and come down from it.
Me?
Exactly. Yeah.
So anyway, long story short, after the pandemic, when I was brave enough to weigh in again, which I think was maybe at the rental house we had here right before we moved or something, I weighed in at 218.
Yeah. And that was your highest?
That's the highest that I know of. And at that time, for me, and again, full disclosure, there are people who feel good mentally and healthy, and they don't have health issues that are causing them to want to lose weight. And I want to acknowledge that the body positive movement I do agree with, and I do think it's great to appreciate the vessel, your juice bag, your physical body in whatever form it is, and choose to love it no matter what the situation is, even if you are sick all the time, to love the body you're in. But that doesn't mean you can't pursue health and what works for you. And if maybe your mental health and your physical health are at a decline, I would encourage folks to look at themselves like a plant who may need more time outside, more exercise, more food, water, shelter, blah, blah, blah.
Well, I think it's good that you make that acknowledgement, but I feel like maybe we should reel this in a little bit, which is...
Try me.
So you had mentioned a few interesting things, which is that you were using the positivity movement as an excuse. And then I'd really like to hear how you got the gumption to overcome this and why today is a special day.
Okay. Thank you for your help.
It's okay.
I have so many feelings and thoughts.
No, I know.
Stories.
I know. It's okay. We can let you talk for a little bit.
Yeah.
Something you're passionate about and something you've been working for a very long time. I've been seeing this chick go from somebody who could keep up with me on eating burgers and fries to now outpacing most of my male friends in Peloton races and stuff. She's insane. It's like looking at a different person in the mirror today.
Yeah, I feel, and again, I don't even think he's not talking even looks.
It's not looks. It's not physical ability. It's like, I mean, the acne is gone. The sickness is gone. The attitude is better. The outlook on life is more positive. Like, you are genuinely a different person. And honestly, like, this transition, it has played no small part in the inspiration of this podcast, of how if you can figure out what is causing imbalances in your chemicals inside your juice bag, and you can write those without relying on like things like medication, or what was that new diabetes
Ozempic.
or Ozempic or whatever. Like, you can master these things and you can overcome them and feel really good. And that's why I wanted you to talk about this today.
Yeah, I was actually wanting to like mention to our listeners that I feel like that's a good thing to mention as far as like medications and chemical things, but there are people out there who need those things.
Of course.
I feel like juice bag is the acknowledgement of the first step. For the people out there who are like, something is off, let's think about it for a second.
Yeah.
We're the first step, I feel like, is like thinking about those things and seeing if they can be nipped in the bud.
Yeah.
But if they can't, just like we were talking about with relationships in our last episode, where like, if you have an energy, like you're not on the same energy as your partner so often, maybe that's a bigger problem to address, where you might need couples therapy or to dive in deeper. But the first thing could be like, did you guys eat today?
Yeah.
You know, so that's what I feel like we are.
Exactly.
If that makes sense. So,
and also, we need to take time, like in this podcast, and remember why we made the decisions that we made, and ultimately learn from them and decide to forgive ourselves or not, or just learn how we can move forward without necessarily avoiding those.
Right.
Niles is attacking our equipment right now, like the alpha he is.
Yeah.
And I feel like that ties back kind of a little bit to your story, which is that our juice bags were so confused during the pandemic, and we were in such a weird mental space that you were thinking that you were doing something positive. I was too, because I was gaining weight like crazy as well. And not that gaining weight is bad. It was just like, it was not the direction I even wanted to be going. I was going there unintentionally. And I'm sure you were too, which is that we were like looking at the body positivity movement, and it's great. And I think we agree with it ultimately. But at the same time, we were using it as a crutch to kind of hide our bodies from ourselves.
Yeah.
I have a lot of clothes right now that are larges, and I am not a large. Not that large is bad. It's just my body is not a large. It's a medium. But I got up to a point where all my clothes now are large, and they all are very baggy on me. And you were talking today how we have a wedding coming up, and you have a vacation coming up, and you have another vacation after that, and another vacation after that. That's
They're
probably
all
next
work
week
trips.
podcast. I know you have a lot of stuff coming up. We'll probably talk about that later. But you mentioned that you don't even have any clothes that fit. And so that's where we went today.
Yeah.
Which was to go not only celebrate your new body, but make sure that you're celebrating it.
Yeah. It's weird. And again, I have so much trouble with like the celebrating, because at least outwardly, because this has been like an inward journey for me. So I mentioned the crescendo of the magical pop of my ACL that made me realize that my vessel is something I need to cherish and treat the way I want it to be treated. And I just had a disconnect with that. I wasn't treating my body the way I knew that I wanted to, which was being mindful with what I ate, not inducing IBS symptoms through quantity and quality of food and processed food that I was consuming.
Yeah.
And so I needed to have that harsh reality check of like, oh my God, like I might get, like a lot of people in my family are pre-diabetic or do have diabetes, and heart disease is a real issue in America. And so I I didn't want to go down that road. And then additionally, when I thought yet again my physical abilities had been stripped away by my ACL out of there, I knew it was time to get my life in order, because I had this like awakening moment where I was like, there are so many more things I want to do in my lifetime, like intentionally and thoughtfully. And a lot of those are active. Like, I bet, like, whether I liked it or not as a teen and was so jaded about it, I'm an active person. I was raised an athlete, and it's a great outlet for me. And like, I've learned that low impact, like cycling, has been one of the best things to implement for like that same like runner's high that I used to get. So anyway, as the Virgo that I am, after we moved over here and got our bearings, so we moved in like September/October of 2022, made it to the East Coast. We purchased this house and moved in on October 31st. I basically let myself have the remainder of that year. I started eating a little bit healthier at that point where, you know, I think I was losing a tish of weight already just by association of just like, I was like, I just need to have less portions or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I started looking into like biohacking, I think they call it now, which is just like learning all about health and like Andrew Huberman and those sorts of things on ways you can
maybe focus on what worked though, because I know you were trying a lot of things, but what ultimately stuck?
Well, I had to start by over planning every single day of my life. I learned that at the time, with all the illnesses that I had, the amount of like swelling that my body held and like water I was retaining, I was just like puffy and brain fog, and I just felt like I couldn't even think. Like, when I rolled out of bed in the morning, first of all, I didn't want to get out of bed because I was so tired. Yeah. And then secondarily, I couldn't even remember what I wanted to achieve for like a morning routine because my brain was just so absent in, like, I had just begun existing, you know, and I was just like frantic every morning. I was late every morning. So anyway, what worked for me was, you know, basically optimizing my morning and night routine and my day routine. I kid you not, and Dakota can attest to this, it was super annoying. To bring myself some sense of humor, I set my alarm to be that duck noise.
Yeah.
And I had an alarm in the morning. It was almost every 5 to 10 minutes to remind me to do things as simple as brush my teeth.
Yeah.
It's not that I would have forgotten that before, but it's that maybe I would have taken 10 minutes to kind of leisurely brush my teeth and sit on my phone
TikTok,
or
hole.
like, right.
Yeah.
And so I decided to cut out all that like airheaded morning, like lack of presence.
Just foggy brain.
Yeah. And really go for it. And I did that with my entire day, including I added time to chug water. Like, I would literally put on my work calendar, please, please, please drink water. Like, I was begging my future self to drink water. And that was how I got myself to like set up what I call like laws. Yeah. Because a lot of people set up like goals and like things they want to achieve. But for me, that made it feel too like loosey-goosey or like spiritual, I suppose. I don't know. Just like a thought and not like a firm action to take, if that makes sense. Yeah. And so I told myself it was a law. If I had an alarm go off, it was a law. It means I stopped everything I was doing, like mid-conversation. Yeah. And go trot to wherever I was supposed to be and go do what I was supposed to do because I had long-term goals. So
you set up a regimented schedule for every day for everything.
Yes. Okay. Yes. So everything had an alarm.
That was step one.
Yeah. I also set up like print off charts on the wall where I could visually see how many days in a row I started a habit, and I would color in the box for how many days in a row those things were happening. So as simple as just like weighing in every morning. So I just had data points to work with throughout the weeks and just like other goals just to visually see that. I tried to do like the only ones that fell off were like meditating and I think that's it.
Yeah. Okay.
Other things that I did that cured my IBS was remove alcohol, gluten, and dairy from my diet. So I'm a resolution person. I know there are a lot of people who are not, but I love me a fresh calendar, type A. So I basically set all those goals as of January 1st. I told you I kind of tapered in at the tail end of 2022.
Yeah.
And then I had my big goals for 2021 and kind of ran with them.
Yeah.
And then I optimized my schedule day by day to reach those goals at like far off points. But
So you looked at your life, you set up a schedule that you stuck to, you made laws, and then you cut out gluten, dairy, and what else? Alcohol?
Strictly.
Very strictly. You haven't had any of those since then.
Nope.
Which is crazy to me.
Yeah.
Because we ate them every day, basically.
Yeah.
And then what else? Was that it? And you just stuck to them and then did portion control, or?
Yes. Well, actually, at first, I wasn't really... Like, I was trying to be more mindful, but I have never tracked calories or anything like that. I've done research along the way just to find out what items are high in calorie and things, but I don't like MyFitnessPal log my calories. I just tried to like intuitively hear my body for what it needed and wanted. And so at first, when I look back at what I was starting my like calorie deficit, it had to have been because I was losing weight on like basically a whole food diet, fruit, vegetable, grain, protein diet.
Yeah.
The weight just fell off because I stopped eating out so much and I knew what was going in my body. And so it was just easier. And I'm a person who loves fruit and vegetables. So it wasn't like a difficult transition for me to like remember how to enjoy the things I knew how to enjoy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So changing up my food. So my initial like probably 4 or 5 months in, my skin was at least 70 to 80%.
Yeah, what was the outcomes then?
Yeah, so from cutting out those things from my diet, my skin cleared up at least 80%, which felt dramatic to me because I wasn't on any medications. I didn't have even any medicated like topicals or supplements or anything that I was on to help my skin. So that was great. My IBS was literally cured. Like I haven't had a diarrhea spell since then.
Which is again crazy.
Yeah. And if you know, you know, but I learned about like leaky gut and being sensitive to gluten and things. I don't think I have allergies, but I think it was like the combo of eating the wrong things and way too much.
Yeah.
And then
even now, like if we go to the movies and you have too much candy, not candy because you don't need candy anymore, but just like sugar.
Yeah, like sweet things.
Yeah, sweet things.
Yeah, and I feel like I'm so much more in tune with my body and like what it likes and doesn't like, and I have an off switch.
Yeah.
Which has really, really helped me. And I truly feel like my life is absolutely changed. And I would like to thank working from home for that. I feel immensely privileged and excited that all the lifestyle changes that we made as far as like where we live and what our jobs are and the amount of stress and like where our cortisol levels are.
Yeah.
I'm in a place where I felt I had the space to approach those goals in a way that felt healthy and obtainable for myself. A lot of people aren't in that spot. So I'm really appreciative of that. Working from home has been the best thing for me because I make all 3 meals at home from scratch and I know exactly what I'm eating. It's all fresh. It's all, you know.
And so do you want to share maybe what weight you're at now or what your goal weight is and how close you are to it?
I guess I didn't know I didn't do that. Yeah. So now I weighed in at 173 today. And a goal of mine was to get to 170 and a size 10 pants. I am a snug size 10 pants.
Yeah.
Now.
But we got you size 10 pants today and they look good.
I'm pretty excited about it. I'm very excited about it.
I'm so happy for you. I did
you.
let you take the stage a little bit for this one because I wanted to let you get it out and just kind of catalog it.
Yeah.
It's a long time coming. And I know that you've put a lot of work into this. And genuinely, I mean, I need to quit being such a simpy little boy and saying, my wife's so good and blah, blah, blah. But I'm so proud of you. And I think it's so great what you've done. And I seriously, I couldn't be happier for you. And I'm so excited to see where you're going to keep going.
Yeah.
Seems like you're going to have abs soon. I don't even know what I'm going to do with that.
Yeah, I don't know exactly where I'm going to go, but I have at this point some loose goals, and I feel like I should mention by optimizing my routine. Now it is a habit. So, I have my lists, like visual lists.
It's not a habit. It's a lifestyle. Like you can trust yourself beyond the point of like, you can be around sweets and you're not going to eat them, which is crazy. Like I don't have that kind of trust with myself.
Which, to be fair, I've still eaten sweets. I've still had the things I wanted,
But
sans
disciplined.
gluten and dairy. Yes, very disciplined. And frankly, I don't even know if I would call it disciplined at this point. It's just being mindful. Like it's taking presence back into my own hands has kind of been the way I've looked at it. And stopping deflecting and blaming it on other people or other situations and just like take ownership of myself, which has been really nice. So my future goals, at this point, I don't even know. I'm interested in losing more pounds, but it's specifically because I want more mobility, because I do have goals to become more athletic in other capacities, because I am going to try to get my ACL repaired in January of 2024. And so from that point forward, I would like the ability to be very flexible and move my body in a way that feels comfortable. And I know what it feels like to be in a bigger body where, my limbs or my tummy or my breasts are blocking me from stretches and movements that I would really like to achieve. And so I don't quite feel like connected with my body quite yet. I'm not sure what point or poundage that will be at, but the goal right now is to feel healthy and fit and prepared for a major surgery yet again. And then I want to start running in 2024.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That's a good goal.
Yeah. So the reason I'm doing like Peloton and Soul Cycle at this phase is because it's low impact and good on the knees. But next year I'd like to get back on my running game once my knee is on the up and up.
I think I'll join you on that too, because I have a goal of doing like a marathon one day.
Yeah.
So maybe not anytime soon, but maybe I can at least get my form down.
Yeah. We could do it. And maybe I'll post about this when it happens, but like post-surgery, my goal is to stand up on a surfboard.
Oh.
So maybe like by my 29th birthday, I'm about to be 28. So by like late summer of next year, maybe I'll be ready to surf.
That'd be sick, dude.
If my knee
I would
is
join
like
you on
doing
that
well.
too.
Yeah. So I just have a lot of goals. And one of my other goals that I've discovered, my longest term goal that I hope to achieve is to live to the 2100s.
Oh, yeah. You had mentioned that.
So I want to be 105 and make it into the year 2100 because I was born in 1995. And I want to be that old lady who was born in the 1900s that gets interviewed on how she's lived so long.
Yeah. And you'll be featured on a Smucker's jar or something like that. Yeah. That'd be fun.
Yeah. So
I think that's enough for the first part of the episode. Maybe we could take an ad break and then come back with some questions. Yeah.
Sounds
Give out some
great.
advice.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll see you in a bit, folks. Don't get too scared. We'll be right back. Okay. Bye. Sorry to interrupt this week's episode, folks, but we'd like to remind you that if you enjoy what you're listening to please consider subscribing and sharing our podcast. Also, don't forget to leave us a review on all major podcast platforms.
We're about to roll into our Q&A portion of the episode, so if you'd like to be featured next time, hop over to Instagram and submit your question to us at JuiceBagPod. Now let's get back to it.
Ready to get into the questions portion of the podcast?
Let's do it.
Okay. I'm going to start off again. I'm the king of softballs. Okay, this is a really easy one. How do you personally find the best in an unpleasant or uncomfortable situation? And thank you to the anonymous viewer who sent that in. We have all viewer questions this week. Episode 2. How crazy is that?
Yeah.
Unreal.
Listeners, but
Listeners. What did I say? Viewers?
Viewers.
Oh, sorry. Visual joke. My
Yeah.
bad. You want me to repeat the question for you?
Yes, please.
How do you personally find the best in an unpleasant or uncomfortable situation?
You start.
I just asked you. You start.
Well, I am the optimist of the family, so I like this question because I do like to find the best.
There's going to be a yin and yang side to this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for me, it's all about like context and benefit of the doubt. So I always assume good intent or just assume I don't know the full story. So let's say someone cuts us off in traffic. The thing I always tell myself is, what if there's a pregnant lady in that car or they're trying to get to their dying mom or something? You know, like I don't know why they're running a red light. Could they be a douchebag? Yeah. Did they kill me or anyone else? Not this time, but maybe they have an actual emergency. So I gotta give them the benefit of the doubt. So
that's the optimist perspective.
Yeah.
It's so funny because while you were saying that, I was thinking to myself, how much worse could it get?
What do you mean?
I'm the pessimist of the family.
Yeah.
Hi everyone, welcome to my TED Talk. I was thinking, I'm like, an unpleasant situation, how to make the best of it is like, man, this sucks, but I bet it's the worst part, and I bet it'll get better from here. And so I feel like I had to do this a lot, like in college, where I had to look at things in levels of suck. Just because I had such a great positive outlook on life. And so in an unpleasant situation, I would be like, I've been through worse. I can totally deal with this. I know I can deal with this. I trust myself in the ability to overcome things like this. And so I guess I just had that trust. And so I would gauge it by like, I bet this part is probably the worst part. So I'm going to do that first. And so if it's like a social situation, if I know I have to talk to somebody, get it out of the way. Just go and talk to them immediately. If I have like a hard part of a project, getting that done first. Like never want to worry about it again. And so I just stack the shit up as high as I can and then just ride that hill down. That's how I approach all those situations.
What about, okay, I'm trying to think of like a real life situation we've had that
Hit me
has
with a
sucked.
scenario, yeah.
What has really sucked? Like questionably was a sucky situation that we've been in.
Probably, lately my transmission exploded. Do you think that would work for your little metaphor analogy?
So how did you make the best of that situation? Like, okay, so long story short is we got a loan for a car just like most people do. And we still owe a significant more than the car is worth at this point.
We bought it at the height of the pandemic during like the whole everyone needs a used car thing because there's no microchips thing.
Right.
So we way overpaid in this. We were way, I think they call it underwater.
Yeah.
On this
with
car.
this car.
Upside down. That's what it is. Yeah.
So Dakota was driving it to work and the transmission started going clinky clunky clunku clink clink clink.
Yep.
I'm broken. And we knew it was time to get it fixed. We were afraid because typically that isn't something insurance covers. So maybe we should talk about how we went through like that situation before we knew the outcome. How we kind of got through that, or how you did.
So I knew with that unpleasant situation, I knew first of all I had to get fixed no matter what because we still owed on the car.
Yeah.
And I know that transmissions are expensive. Spoilers alert. It turned out to be like, I think close to like $8,000.
It was like $8,700
to fix this car, which is more, not more, but just about what we owe on it.
Yep.
And so there was later on there were talks of like actually totaling it and stuff. But basically, we got kind of emotional. We had a little bit of an emotional reaction. We said we should just leave it on Broad Street during an Eagles game and hope somebody flips it and then we could sue them and they could pay for it. Not really. But it seemed kind of like a hopeless cause. We didn't really know what to do. We thought we basically just lost $9,000 and a car. But we took some time, to think about our options. This is kind of that reflection portion of analyzing the worst part that I think we did. And with this one, I needed your help. I kind of relied on you a little bit because I came home and I'm like, it's broken. We don't know. I don't know what to do. We
Yeah.
have to like get rid of it. And you're like, calm down. We have insurance.
Yeah.
Maybe we could call them and just see.
Yeah.
And then we did. And luckily, that worked out.
Yeah. They
But
covered
that
our
led
transmission.
to a whole month of really unpleasant, nice things that we had to deal with. We had to basically call the insurance people, make the claim, get the money to pay for this insane quote for like a trusted mechanic or something like that that could actually do the transmission. And we were all trying to do it for as little money as possible. And the first step of doing that, the worst step of doing that, was getting the quote and getting it towed and getting it to the mechanic and doing all that stuff. And I basically did it all in one foul swoop.
Yep.
And it sucked, and it was a horrible day or two, but you just start with one step, and then that's a little baby step, and then you just get a head start, and then you just keep running and running and running, and eventually you look back and you see all the ground you covered, and you realize you're already halfway through, and it's
So
already almost over.
I thought of a really good smaller scenario,
Good,
actually.
because that was kind of a big one.
Yeah. So it sounds like from like how we've answered so far, analysis of our feelings is a big one.
Yeah.
But I understand not everyone maybe opts to that or has that muscle.
And also maybe not
prepared.
doesn't have time
Right.
for that. Yeah.
But remember the situation. So just last weekend, Dakota and I went out, or maybe it was a weekday. We went out to a place called the Philadelphia Mills, which is like an outlet mall that's like really crappy. Like imagine an outlet mall and then close half the stores in it. They're just not open and make it really dirty. And everyone's not very happy to be there. So
Yeah.
just like bad vibes. So we're there. We're like, this is all right. We've had some wins as far as like we've found some good deals on stuff. But then we realized the mall is so poorly set up, and we are on the furthest part of this outlet mall. And I kid you not, guys, it's like a mile long. Like it is such a
It's
big
very long.
mall. And we were there till like closing time, which in the city is like only 7:30 because they don't keep things open late because of dangers and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Don't scratch that. Come here. Oh, cats. But because they poorly planned things and because we were newbies going to this mall, we basically got locked out on the opposite side of the mall.
And we were parked on the opposite side. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so we had to somehow figure out how to get around the mall. And then we figure out there half the time isn't sidewalks because it was not set up to be walked around. It was set up to be walked through.
Yeah.
And so
And we had also just purchased, I think, 60 pounds of candles.
Yeah. Well, there was a Bath and Body Works outlet, so we got like 12 candles for $60. So if you know, you know.
It was awesome.
It was awesome.
Yeah. We saved like hundreds of dollars on
But
candles.
that being said, we had a heavy loot
Heavy loot, yeah.
that we had to carry back to the car, and we were both like shopped. You know, when you
And
shop
it was
till you
hot,
drop.
and it was humid, and it was a bad situation
Yeah.
all the way around. But what did we do?
We
Turned lemons
into lemonade.
lemonade. Yeah.
And so basically, we were kind of grumpy. We found a cart to put our stuff in, and we kidnapped it to roll our candles to the place. And then Dakota suggested, Jett, get in the cart. I'll push you in the cart. I was like, oh, that's pretty fun. And so I got inside the cart, and Dakota ran and pushed me through the parking lot, and we were like, wee!
And it was so fun.
It was a lot of fun, and I feel like it's a core memory.
It went from a situation where we both could have been very upset,
Just like
and
huffy
not unhappy
and annoyed and hot and humid.
easily like forgettable, like a repressed memory that you
Right.
would be eager to forget.
Right.
And now I think about it all the time. And we like walked by this nice pho place, and we ended up going there and
Mm-hmm.
getting pho, and it was delicious. And now it's a big, beautiful, happy memory.
Yeah.
And now I want to go back there to that ugly ass mall because I still want to go to that one store that we went there originally for,
Yeah.
which happened to be closed.
Yeah. So long story short, with like a negative situation or just something where it's like, why is this mall built this way? This is so annoying. This is the most annoying shopping experience I've ever had.
Yeah.
Into a core memory. I feel like the core of that is like finding humor in the situation or a way to be jovial in a way that doesn't correlate to it, but just like you said, make lemons out of lemonade. you're in whatever situation, bring a sense of humor to it. You have to laugh at your situation.
Yeah,
Like,
don't take life so seriously.
first world problems, you have to walk around a mall, you're kind of hot, but you're still with the person you love, or you're still breathing and you have a heartbeat and you're healthy and you're fine.
But when you look at the situation, you're on a flat surface and you have wheels.
Yeah.
Like, think like a kid.
Joyride.
That's going to be so fun.
Right. And it was fun.
It was fun.
So I feel like that covers that.
Yeah, sure.
Don't you? Okay. I have a question now.
A question for me?
A question for us. Okay. Tell a story about, this is kind of related. Tell a story about overcoming a difficult challenge and what you learned from it. Ooh-wee, ooh-wee. Can we talk about marriages and minding our own business with loose terms without names?
Oh, wow. You want to go for that one?
I want to go for that one. That's a big one.
Okay.
That's a big one.
I was going to keep it way lighter, but go ahead.
Nah. Okay. So, a lesson that we learned that we'll lightly unpack, and I'm sure will come up in the future because it's a lot of our most recent years' trauma.
Yeah.
But we had a friendship going on for a while where the marriage was struggling. The marriage was struggling. I'll leave it at that.
Objectively struggling.
Yes. Like,
It's not a
acknowledged
projection.
by them.
Both parties and our parties were like, hey, this is weird.
Yeah. Super awkward. They were confiding in us that basically they weren't sure if it was going to go on. And we got involved. Like, we let people live with us. We were consoling them. We were on the phone with them. We were in person with them. Always trying to talk to them about their marriage and almost like advise them through that time. But also getting involved in the sense where when we thought they were calling it quits, like the over involvement in like helping them heal and trying to be fixers to someone else's marriage. So that was an extremely difficult time because they ended up staying together, which ended up leaving a very awkward situation in its midst because we had felt very thrown around because we were basically told directly that it was over. And so we were confused when
multiple times.
Right. When it wasn't.
Yeah.
And so we were kind of shaken up with this, like, well, of course we support you guys. And of course we want the best for you. But this is like whiplash. And there are very clearly things that they weren't addressing with each other or things that they were avoiding.
I feel like maybe, so this is a big story with 8 years of context behind it. And I feel like maybe we're being a little bit too vague and too broad about this because I feel like we're not doing it any justice and we're probably just confusing the listeners.
Do you think?
I do, because obviously we know everything that went on, but I would say this is a situation where we were friends with a couple that was going through a really hard time multiple times throughout the course of the friendship. We tried our best to be arbitrators, but not recently, but toward the end figured out that we weren't necessarily being impartial. And we also realized pretty quickly that it was pretty inappropriate for us to be involved and for them to ask us to be involved. And it just got really sloppy. And what we learned was boundaries.
Mind your own business.
Yeah.
Even if you're asked, mind your own business. So
it carries back to that Harry Styles album. You know, fine line.
Right.
Line. There's a fine line between boundaries of like overstepping,
of like helping, supporting, and basically being overly involved to the point where it gets messy. Like, it's kind of like, I feel like how the reason why therapists can't give direct advice to things is because if they're telling people how to live their life, they become involved in
and they become accountable. And there's a fine line that I learned between supporting and meddling.
Yep.
And what I learned is that I got to a point where I was meddling in their relationship, and I don't think I will ever forgive myself. Which I don't know if I need to forgive myself. They were actively asking me to do it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I need to acknowledge that I was still doing it.
Right.
And I felt weird doing it the whole time, but I still decided to do it.
because we have a savior complex. Like, we want to help. Like, it's
especially with stuff like relationships. Like, look at this
Yeah,
stupid
we love
podcast
love.
we do. You
Yeah.
know, we love love, and we want love to prevail every time. But also, like, our relationship is hard. It's the best relationship I'm aware of, but also relationships are hard. We can't
Yeah.
manage somebody else's relationship for them.
Yeah. So that was the challenge. Was a very close friendship we had was having marital issues, and we were struggling with boundaries. What we learned from it was that you have to have boundaries even with your friends.
Yeah.
I think our biggest flaw was we were kind of at the time in our early 20s rejecting our like blood family, and we were trying to find family in people outside of our, immediate family, and that's when friends came into the picture. And so I think we opted to treat them like a boundaryless family member.
Yeah. No, they became our family.
Yeah.
And to this day, I mean, we obviously broke up with them. We're no longer friends, which sucks. But like,
It does suck.
we still love them, and we talk about them positively like all the time. I
Yeah.
have pictures of them hanging up by my door. Literally, they were a part of our lives for like 8 years, and I will always love them, and I hope they stay together forever.
Yeah.
But it just, I know that it became too much, and
Yeah. It was like we all
realized-
meddled, and we're all...
and it all came from a place of love, which is
Yeah.
what's so weird.
yeah.
It was so weird. Like, I am so sorry how vague we're being about this, folks. Like, we'll probably get into it later on as like it comes up and stuff. I think actually the anniversary of our breakup is coming up pretty soon.
Yeah.
And it was really hard, but I feel like it all came from a place of love, but it was all misplaced and confused love.
Yeah. Yeah, from all parties. Like them
From all parties. They
reaching
were
out.
inviting us into their relationship,
is-
which was odd.
Well, I mean, I don't blame people who want to be together looking for advice and
Yeah.
help.
Support, yeah.
And support in any capacity that they can. But the reality is that's where boundaries come from. Whether someone asks for help that you shouldn't or can't provide, or, the opposite, which is like declining. Like, there has to be boundaries. You probably shouldn't ask a friend that directly for your marriage to be cured by their actions.
Yeah.
Like, that should come from within the marriage. So anyway, the thing I learned is how to swerve those situations politely and still support your friendships, and also mind your own business when it comes to people's marriage. Don't get involved, because the long story short is people are gonna do what they're going to do, and you don't live in their roof.
Yeah.
You can't determine their outcome. Only they can.
And it's not a point of like indifference or like not caring. It's you genuinely cannot do anything about them. You can't change them at all, no matter how hard you want to try. You can give every recommendations, but you know what they're going to do? They're just going to get pissed at you for having an opinion about how they should be living their life.
Well, yeah. I mean, that could range for people.
It can range. Yes, the reaction can range, but ultimately, you can't change people, and you can't dictate how people live their life.
Right.
Yeah.
So we learned that lesson. So my advice from that is don't get overly involved in other people's marriages and relationships, because you don't know what happens in their bedroom.
Yeah.
You don't know what happens under their roof. And frankly, it is none of your business. And it is your job as a friend to support in ways that aren't meddling or changing people's perceptions of each other.
It's weird because it's a wolf in sheep's clothing.
Right.
Like, you want to do it, but you don't need it, and they sure as shit don't need it. Like, it's a bomb.
Yes. And if you strip away that level of support, potentially that gives the opportunity for them to reflect personally and then do the work within their relationship, which is a more positive outcome than handling it externally.
It's weird to think that with this couple in particular, like, if the relationship was never in jeopardy, or if it never took place at all, probably still be friends with them, to be completely honest.
Yeah.
Which is, maybe that's my hot take of the day.
Yeah. I mean, we learned a lot with them. It was like our first like close friendship in a small town, and it is what it is.
It's truly, truly unfortunate.
Yeah.
I loved those two.
If you're out there and you've been through a friendship breakup, you know how hard that is.
Yeah, dude, friendship breakups suck.
They
They're
really
hard.
do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
You
yeah.
ready for the next question?
Oh, keep it light this time. I don't want to go straight into 8-year trauma.
Nah, this is juice bag.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, wait, that's not good.
This is a fun one, and I think you can take lead on this because I think you've helped us with this one.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I'll try and be a little bit more intentional. My brain's kind of foggy, but hit me.
What do you do when one person likes to be early and one person likes to be late?
Dude.
Keep in mind, this is like likes to be late, not so.
One person likes to be late?
Likes to like show up like a tish, not like maybe like 5-10 minutes after the like due time.
I wanna like consider my words and think about this fairly. And my reaction, my analytical brain is saying that the person who wants to be late is wrong, is objectively wrong. That's stupid. Why the fuck would you want to be 5 minutes late? That's dumb. It's disrespect. No, I'm just kidding.
Dakota obviously has a side, and I'm obviously the late person. Not because I like to be, though. That's what's a little bit different about this question. But I mean, I don't mind being 5 minutes late to something.
Severely do.
Unless it's work. Like,
Yeah.
I don't get anxious about being 5 minutes late to like a friend meetup.
Yeah.
Or
Listen,
something.
I just don't know what angle you can look at it to justify being late. I mean, there are start times and there are times when you need to be there, and a part of like people, or I mean, you work in events. Like there are times when you want people to be there and you tell them when you want them to be there. And if they decide they want to be there at another time, I see that as a point of somewhat disrespect. Not disrespect, but just disregarding
Can we
order.
make it a little less serious? Because I think this situation...
You just said I had to make it serious. It's juice bag.
Okay, well, I mean the event.
I'm being a little dramatic
I
for the
know.
cameras. Woo.
But okay, so let's say it's just like you're going to meet up with 2 other couples to play pool at a bar.
Yeah.
And you all said, let's meet at 7.
Yeah.
And someone wants to be there at like 7:10, like on purpose, and you want to be there at 6:55.
Okay.
How
What's
do you
the
handle
issue?
that? How do you handle that one person is like, I want to be late, and the other is, I want to be a tish early so I am officially on time?
If you want to be there early and you can take care of yourself for 10 minutes, or you can get prepped or do whatever you need to do, which is something I always feel like I need to do. I like to scope out the space, figure out where I want to be, think about like what the night is going to entail or whatever for meeting this couple in your scenario. I feel like 10 minutes would be a good time for me to like organize my thoughts and prepare for that kind of a thing. If somebody wants to be 10 minutes late, I feel like at that point you should be asking the other couple if you can just move the time back 10 minutes. And that's just my personal opinion. It's just my personal opinion. It's, if you want to push it back, that's fine. But that means that the other person is expecting you to be there on time. But now they're sitting there finger popping each other's... No, I'm just kidding.
Oh my God. Well, okay, let me flip it
For
then.
10 minutes.
Let me flip that then. Would you be mad at a friend if you were already at the pool
If
hall?
somebody is habitually 10 to 15 minutes late because they want to be, I wouldn't say like it would be grounds to like end the relationship or whatever, but that would bug the shit out of me. Yes.
Really?
Absolutely.
Really?
I personally, and like I am being a little dramatic, but like less dramatic is like, I do find it somewhat not offensive, but just kind of like disregarding of my feelings, I suppose. It's like, I would like you to be here at 6. I am preparing a meal for you. Blah, I'm doing all these things. Like, we are going to have a good time.
But 10 minutes or less to be late?
10 minutes or less, like, it's fine. But if, like, they want to show up late and they're always 10 minutes late, like, obviously I can build my schedule around
Right.
that and kind of hack the system. But it's just, I just don't see the need for it.
Yeah.
I don't see how
I
it
get that.
benefits
I
the
get
person
that.
who wants to be late, and I don't see how it benefits the other couple who has to deal with that.
Okay, well, but the question was, how do you deal with it? So our situation is that it's not that I like to be late. I don't mind being 5 to 10 minutes late to a casual thing, which means if, let's say I'm having a bad eyeliner day and the difference between me having good eyeliner or not is being 5 minutes late, I would probably choose to be 5 minutes late when Dakota would scrub off the eyeliner and sprint out the door so he could be on time. So in our relationship, Dakota is the one who's done early. Frankly, he has less to do because he just has to like make his hair coiffed and slap on some moisturizer.
Yeah.
And I have like a, 15-step skincare and makeup routine that I like to attempt to do before I go out in public. Which tends to make me run behind. How do we deal with that?
How do we deal with that? We deal with it in a charismatic way. I try and see you where you are, and I try not to give you a good time.
You try not to give me a good time?
I try not to give you a hard time
Yeah.
about it. But I would also raise the point that because with you, it's routine. It is all the time. We're always 10 minutes late. We're going to a movie and we're fiddle farting in the candy line doing all kinds of stuff. I just feel like because we know it's coming up and because we know that you are always 10 minutes late, I feel like you can adjust your schedule or whatever you need to do to accommodate for that.
But what you're missing is that it's preference at that point, because that situation doesn't change whether you're 5 minutes late or not.
Then you need to defend why you prefer to be late.
Well, I don't prefer, but I do prefer having flexibility when it comes to arbitrary sharp arrival times. Like, I had a friend within the last year tell me, like, oh, I'm late to everything. It's just who I am. As soon as they like warned me I'm late to everything, it's who I am, I kind of like the buffer. I'm like, okay, I'm going to meet you there at like 7 or whatever. And they show up at 7:15. Now I know I'm going to show up on time or 2 minutes late or something. And it's cash. Like, I know I'm always the earlier one. And so I get the calmness and my anxiety chills out because I know someone will show up later than me.
Yeah.
You know?
I think taking the seriousness out of it, I think at worst it's a red flag. At best, it's a beige flag for me. And it's just a preference thing. I mean, if that's okay with you, I find it to be a little bit of an issue. Not necessarily an issue. I'm not going to
we've
fight
dealt
you
with
about
it in our relationship. We don't fight about this anymore.
We don't, because I've decided to let it go. And that's the honest to God truth.
So that's the answer to our audience
is
then.
that you've beaten me down and that I just allow it to happen. That's exactly the answer.
I think it's because we acknowledge the situation. Is like, I have so many more variables in my get ready time that it's not necessarily realistic to dial that into
God,
it.
I want to fight you on this so bad because I have let it go for so
Yeah.
long. But I'll go into your little room where you have your vanity and you're just scrolling on TikTok. You're just hanging out.
Well-
Hey, Jett, you almost ready? Oh, I got to get dressed. I'm like, okay. And then you're dressed and you're like, oh, I forgot. I have to put on makeup. I'm like, what? And then you're done. And then I'm like, are you ready? And you're like, I forgot to shower. And you're like, what the fuck?
That's okay. No, you're exaggerating.
But it's seriously, it's always something. And it's like, I mean, God,
I
we have
swear,
never been on time
I
to
feel
anything.
like, okay, that's not true.
That's
I am
not
a very timely person when it matters. But for like a cash thing, I'm not going to think my friend is like you and is going to put up a red flag because I'm 5 or 10 minutes late to something.
I just feel it causes undue stress on me specifically. And you're just like chilling and you're hanging out and doing your thing. And then I'm trying to get us there on time. What? That was quite the face she gave me.
Yeah, okay. Because I feel like there is a resolution that we've talked about with this before. For serious things, I am on time and I will forego a makeup item or a part of my routine. Like if we have to get to the airport or something, we've had talks the night before to be like, okay, Dakota, because it takes Jett an hour to get ready in the morning and it takes you 15 minutes, you're on backpack duty in the morning, you know? And we acknowledge that. And it's just to optimize our morning routine and get the most sleep between the two of us. That's kind of how it pans out.
Yeah.
And when you say, like, clearly communicate, like the night before, have something important coming up that you want help with, stuff like that, I'm there, and I do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was the issue for a long time, was that I had to, it seemed like we lowered the bar for you for a while because we used to do a lot of camping. And so it seemed like sometimes it was like, okay, you just get ready to be in the car and I will load everything. I will hook up the trailer. I'll get myself ready. I'll get the cats dealt with, blah, blah, blah. And I had like an hour and a half at work and to get ready. And then you got ready. And then we were still 10 minutes late because we were waiting on you.
Yes.
Yeah. That has happened.
It has happened.
And that's
yeah.
when we were fighting. But ultimately now it is, the stakes are a lot less low, or a lot lower.
Yeah.
It's not as big of an issue, and I give you a pass. It's seriously,
Right.
It bugs the shit out of me, but I choose to just let it go, man.
Yeah.
I just let it roll off my
But
shoulders because I'm a
without
chill
resentment?
guy now. I don't have resentment toward you with this.
Without
anytime.
resentment?
I do like to drag you.
Yeah.
When we're late to
Clearly.
movies.
Clearly.
And I take videos of you to shame you because it's funny. But that's it. Because movies are
Previews
fun.
are 20 minutes.
I know you think that. That's great.
They are.
I know, but you don't know that for sure. And sometimes we get there right on time, barely, and then I have to like walk through people to get to my seat in the pitch black. Oh my God, keep the faces away. I just don't know why you won't admit that you're wrong. That's okay.
No, I
we're not
think
going to have a resolution for this one.
If and when it's serious, the answer is that you guys need to have a conversation the night before or before it's go time.
Mm-hmm.
Like before the person who clearly has anxiety is having, like, projecting that
Why
onto.
were you looking at Gordy when you said
I
that?
don't know.
That was weird.
I don't know. He's just a stressed little guy.
You have anxiety, dude. You
Yeah.
have anxiety.
We both do.
Yeah.
But if it's serious and important and you don't want to fight, you need to
so this
communicate
goes back
in
to the
advance.
first question, though, which is that, like, when I have anxiety, I want to get it over with. And so I want to get
Yeah.
there early and just get that shit done and then leave early. And then you're like, I have anxiety, so I'm just going to drag my feet until I have to go.
Yeah.
And that's how it is. That's
Yeah.
the conflict.
Yeah.
Boom. Answer. I just answered your question. How
What
does
was
that make
the
you feel?
answer?
Difference of opinion. See each other where you
Well,
are. Be charismatic.
Yes.
Understand
And
people.
don't hold resentment.
Don't hold resentment. Never
Because
do
it's
that.
silly. Unless the
It
person is
silly.
like being outrageous and wanting to be like a half hour to an hour late to something that is kind of serious, then that person needs to be more considerate. And frankly, they need to get up earlier. Like I had to get to that point, like when we were traveling, like when you're going to Europe and you have an hour and a half morning routine, like shower included, to get ready, you're getting up before everybody.
Yeah.
And that's just the long and short of it. You're not
That
going
is
to
the long
keep
and
the
short
whole
of it.
group waiting, cutting into their very expensive vacation because you have a 15-step routine. You need to get your behind out of bed if you're going to be doing that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So a give and a take. And I love and respect you.
I love and respect you too.
You ready for the next question?
There's another question.
There's one more.
Oh my God. Okay.
You ready? Share about your experiences with compromise and how that plays out in your relationship.
Share my experiences with compromise.
What are our like main compromises besides the one we just talked about, which is sometimes be late, sometimes be on time?
Nothing like
We've kind
obvious
of grown
comes to mind.
We've grown together, so I feel like we tend to think very similarly.
this is kind of an issue with us, is that we are kind of, we've been together so long, like you said. We're like not codependent, but we also are codependent because we make one perfect
Yeah,
human, and
we
we
are
just play
meshed.
into each other's strengths. And so I feel like we rarely have to compromise on
We
things.
compromise emotionally a lot, if that makes sense. So it's not like, I feel like earlier on in relationships, you need to compromise with like bigger ticket issues, like, you know, household income goals, or I don't know, childbearing, or I don't know if you're going to get pets or whatever.
Yeah.
You compromise. You didn't want a dog,
I didn't want a dog.
but thus you drove me to go buy a dog.
I did.
So I don't know. I do feel like we have like micro compromises throughout our day all the time.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Why
Like,
is this question so difficult?
I don't know, dude. I like nothing obvious is coming up.
Well-
I don't know.
Compromise.
Are we so dumb? Are we like superhumans?
No, I don't know. Well, because
Our interests
compromise
align
is
a lot.
such a big word
Yeah.
because there are so many things. Like compromise is such a bucket term for like meeting in the middle on so many different
Exactly. And so like
situations.
we now are at a point in our lives where, and maybe that's why this question is a little harder for us, is because like this is early relation shit. It's like you guys find a common direction to go toward, and me and you we're on the same path right now. Like
Yeah.
we know exactly where we're going, and so all the compromises have been made. I know that when we first started this relationship, I wanted to go into the military, which was stupid, and I don't want to anymore, and I
Yeah.
never actually did. And I know you wanted to go to college, and I know we wanted to move away from family, but sometimes we didn't want to move away from family, and there was all these directions and paths that we could have gone down. And I felt like the thing is we always were such preservers of the relationship that the relationship was never in question.
Right.
But we still wanted to find common ground.
I feel like here is my answer, generally speaking. Usually, when someone is at one side and someone is at the other, and you need to get to a compromise, you both are responsible for unpacking the root of your motive. So, I'm trying to think what an example of this would be for us.
Is the question, how do you compromise?
Let me see. Share your experiences with compromise and how that plays out in your relationship. That's why I feel like this is such a hard one, because we don't view it as compromise anymore. We view it as communication.
Yeah.
Does
And
that
this
make
was like-
sense?
Yeah.
So it's unpacking the root. Okay, here's a good one. Here's a good one we're still working on, and
Okay.
this is how it plays out in our relationship. Philadelphia driving, we talk about this all the time, is the Wild West.
Yeah.
It's a lawless land. It is dangerous. It is scary. It is fast. All of that.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time, out of habit, Dakota grabs the keys, so he's the one driving. We both are like indifferent. We don't mind who's the
It's
driver
just
or not.
our
Yeah.
familiar
So
path.
a lot of the time, Dakota drives out of habit. And what happens is people be Philly people, and they act crazy on the road, and they will cut you off. They will run red lights. They will put your life in danger.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time when Dakota's driving, or frankly, when I'm driving, I mean, I'll let you speak to what are you doing when you're driving? Usually that bothers me.
I am not being as defensive as you would prefer me to be. I am driving kind of like a Philadelphia driver a little bit. Like we have a lot of cars that just like stop in the middle of the lane, so I'll like go around them.
Yeah.
Blah blah blah. But I'm not driving aggressively. I'm not like cutting people off or doing anything. Whereas you take a more kind of conservative approach of
Right.
like if somebody is stopping in the lane, you are stopping in the lane as well until the obstacle is either moved or the left lane is like completely clear and
Right.
you're not hurting anybody or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
And then additionally, you tend to make comments about like
That's the big one, yeah.
right, like F that guy, and or like the road rage. Like Dakota's not a road rager. Like he's never aggressing anyone.
But I
want to
emote.
make that clear.
I am
Yes.
extroverted. I emote. If I have a feeling, I say it and it's out of me. I
Right.
never think about it again. But Jett is introverted and she takes that shit in.
Yes. So unfortunately, #daddy issues. I grew up with a actual aggressor, road rager, like would fist fight people, like pull, like very dangerous
Yeah,
situations. That has led me to have a heightened sensitivity towards feeling danger in those situations and having a reaction. So over time, you know, Dakota and I still, I mean, I feel like we fight about this almost every other day or every single time we're in the car. Dakota will say something like, screw that guy for cutting me off. And I'll say something like, you know,
You pull the
Leave it
therapist and you're
be.
like, well, how were you responsible for what just happened?
Right,
And-
exactly.
And,
And
you're
it-
like, well, maybe you're driving too slow. I'm like, this bitch was driving 95
Right.
in a 45
Right.
passing me.
and so in this case, we're both valid. Like there
Yeah.
are ways, you know, the driving could be more defensive, but also you have every right to emote, to unfeel those feelings in that moment and move on.
Yeah.
And so in this case, the compromise is sometimes I need to keep my trap shut about my sensitivities, right?
And I need to be sensitive to what you've expressed multiple
Right.
times, which is that you're sensitive to my
Right.
emotes when
Right.
I'm driving. And so I need to take responsibility to also limit those.
Right.
Or keep them under wraps myself.
Right.
Out of respect for both of those. That's it. That's an example of a beautiful compromise. I remember earlier on in our relationship when we had this kind of idea, which I felt like was a little toxic, of what compromise was, which is that whoever feels more passionately about the project
Is the default
is
answer.
the default answer. They win the argument. However, they also have to do all the work to
Yep.
make it happen. And I feel like that's a very, like, you know, if I could clap right now, like, wash your hands of the situation. I'm not dealing with this. And so
Right.
if you can make it be, great, I get a benefit from it. But also if it
Right.
doesn't happen, I actually won the thing. So I
Right.
felt like that didn't work out for very long.
Yeah. Yep.
So.
Yeah, and that can, like, if someone is more passionate about it, therefore they take on the mental load of making it happen and enforcing it, leads to an unbalanced family and can really lead to some bigger issues down the road.
Yeah.
So acknowledging the core in which you both have motivations for what you're doing, which Dakota is a natural protector. He loves me. He also has like more testosterone, and his juice bag is a little bit more amped and aggressive than mine is just by nature. And I am more sensitive because #daddy issues. And I am a more defensive driver. And those are both valid experiences that are equivalently not hurting or harming anyone and stays within the confines of our vehicle.
Yeah.
And they're honestly just judgment calls. And so day
But-
by day.
Yeah, and it's also not also. God, I like really spun out there. It's also not just with like negative things either.
Yeah.
It's also with like good things, because I know that when you started this health journey that we talked about with the front part of the podcast, you started cooking meals that were really, really fibrous.
Yeah.
And I was starting to get IBS. I'm like, dude, I can't handle all this quinoa.
Yeah.
It's literally killing me. And I was like, we just can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
And you're like, but it's good for you. You should eat more of it. I'm like, you're killing me. I literally can't. And so
The internet said you could train yourself to be eating more fiber, which I still do believe, but I think quinoa was pushing it.
no, dude, my people have been eating grounded wheat for hundreds of years, and I feel like gluten makes me feel better and makes me glow. So,
No, I do think you tolerate it much more than me.
but anyway, you were able to compromise in that way of like not cooking, you know, just boiled vegetables and quinoa
Right.
and killing me, but
We
also being
switched
happy
to,
and stuff.
some jasmine rice.
Yeah, we have some gluten-free pasta every now and then.
Yeah.
It's all good, man.
Yeah.
It's all good.
That's true.
But this is what we're talking about with why we had such a hard time, is that it's just a conversation. It's communication. And it's repeated communication. And ultimately, like, I think now this, like, argument about us driving, I think is more or less solved now that we've, like, choose to identify it during this podcast and talk about it more. It's a good bump in for me.
We at least bounce back a lot faster. Like our car fights when we moved to Philly used to like draw out and spill over into other emotional debates and like,
Yep.
you know,
Our juice bags would come under fire, and I'd get flushed with anxiety, and then I'd be like upset, and then I'd want to emote more because somebody made me mad, made my wife mad at me.
Yeah,
and Jett would be
exactly.
like, here he is with this big, stupid, hairy knuckle jerk just
No.
driving this car.
No.
What a man. Hate
Yeah.
him. Yeah.
Yep. So it just took us time to like bounce back faster.
Yeah.
That's it.
It really is.
So that's my answer. Know your motivations behind your why. Know the motivations behind their why. Don't just pick one or the other. Like truly talk about and validate people's why. And then I think the compromise will naturally fall into place when you understand each other's motivations.
Yeah.
If that
I think
makes
so.
sense.
I think that's it. I don't have any other questions.
Was there any other questions?
No, there was no other questions for me.
Okay.
I have some stuff backlogged for maybe next week, so
Okay.
I think we can
Awesome.
talk about that. But that's been episode 2, probably our longest episode thus far
Ooh.
of Juice Bag.
Out of the 2 episodes.
Please join us next week. Hopefully, we have a little bit shorter, a little bit tighter podcast, but that's
But
what
if
we're
you
here
like
for.
long form, let us know.
Life's a little messy sometimes, man, and we had kind of a messy, weird week, and this is just what we wanted to talk about. Jett's really proud of her weight goals and stuff and all this like great health stuff that she's been doing. And I'm chilling because my voice feels terrible. I had a piece of toast the other day, and like every time I swallowed and that crunchy toast scratched my throat, I was like, oh my God, this is so great.
Like ecstasy.
So anyway, maybe I'll talk more next week. But
Yeah.
until then, keep us in your thoughts and prayers, folks. Because
Send
we'll be
healing
thinking of
vibes
you.
to Dakota.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll see you next week. Talk to you later. Anything else for the folks? Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Juice Bag. Were you surprised by what we said? We were. Oh no, is this on the internet forever? Oh God.
Can't take it off the internet. Hope we don't do this again next week.
Ooh, what if we did this again next week?
Maybe it could be like a thing. Who knows?
See you next time.
Tune in next time to find out.
Or not.